So what are the core pillars of this refocused strategy? On the one hand is to double down on electrification and software. Those are the transforming technologies, and Mercedes-Benz intends to have a leading position in these technologies.
The brand that practically invented the luxury automobile, the three-pointed star that has long symbolized elegance, power, and prestige, suddenly makes an announcement so bold it leaves the entire luxury market gasping for air. Mercedes-Benz CEO just revealed that the EV future isn't decades away. It isn't even on the horizon, it's barreling toward us much faster than anyone dared to believe. And here's the kicker, Mercedes isn't just dabbling in electrification anymore. They're accelerating full throttle, tearing up the old playbook that defined luxury for over a century. Think about that for a second. Mercedes, the company that built its empire on handcrafted engines, buttery smooth V8 South, and AMG performance icons, is now saying the era of gas-powered luxury is ending sooner than we thought. What does that mean for BMW, Audi, Lexus, and even Tesla? Because this isn't just a change in product lineup, it's a change in the very definition of what it means to be a luxury car. And the implications are nothing short of seismic. Mercedes is signaling that the future of high-end driving won't be measured in horsepower and exhaust notes anymore, but in battery range, charging speed, and next-generation software that can redefine how a car interacts with its driver. That announcement didn't just rattle competitors, it sent shockwaves through dealers, investors, and even governments. Because if Mercedes accelerates its EV timeline, it forces the entire luxury segment to either keep up or risk being left behind in a market where prestige will no longer be tied to engines, but to innovation. And let's be clear, this wasn't some cautious corporate statement. This was a bombshell, a bold declaration that left many asking, is Mercedes truly ready to bet its legendary reputation on an all-electric future coming faster than we thought? Or is this the kind of high-stakes gamble that could either redefine luxury for the next century or unravel it completely? The shock came when the Mercedes-Benz CEO stood before analysts and investors and laid it out in crystal-clear terms. The full transition to electric luxury isn't a 2035 story. It's starting now, and it's going to hit the market years earlier than expected. Mercedes confirmed that by 2028, nearly every core lineup from the flagship S-Class to the beloved E-Class, and even the bread and butter C-Class will either be fully electric or offered primarily as EVs. And perhaps the boldest move of all, the CEO hinted that the legendary AMG performance division is preparing to phase out its pure gas V8 South within the next 5 years. Replacing them with high-perth rollout begins sooner than anyone imagined. The EQE and EQS sedans are being joined by a new wave of EV SUVs, crossovers, and even an electric G-Class. Yes, the iconic G-Wagon is going battery-powered, and insiders are buzzing about a smaller, more affordable electric compact set to undercut Tesla in Europe and China, positioning Mercedes as not just a luxury EV brand, but a mass-market disruptor. Why does this change the luxury game overnight? Because Mercedes isn't simply electrifying cars, it's electrifying status. Owning a Mercedes has always meant being at the pinnacle of automotive prestige. Now, the company is flipping the script, saying that the new measure of status is not how smooth your V12 idles, but how seamlessly your EV integrates with your digital life, how far it can travel on a charge, and how much cutting-edge AI can personalize the driving experience for rivals like BMW, Audi, and Lexus. This is a nightmare scenario. Their strategies were built around stretching out combustion engines while sprinkling EVs across the lineup. But Mercedes just raised the stakes. If they deliver on this accelerated timeline, the rest of the luxury market will be caught playing catch-up, forced to invest billions more, move faster than planned, and potentially risk losing their most loyal buyers to a brand that has already claimed the electric high ground. And the ripple effects don't stop there. Because when Mercedes declares that EV luxury is here faster than expected, it doesn't just set a new standard for the wealthy elite, it sets the tone for the entire industry. Every automaker, from Tesla to Cadillac to even Ferrari, is now on notice. The luxury crown is up for grabs. And Mercedes just made the first move, and almost immediately, the reactions began pouring in, and they couldn't have been more divided. On one side, you have loyal Mercedes buyers who see this as the future they've been waiting for. To them, the idea of stepping out of an S-Class that whispers silently down the road with 500 miles of range, voice-activated everything, and 0 trips to the gas station feels like the ultimate luxury upgrade. These customers are already lining up, signaling that they're ready to embrace an EV future. It's wrapped in Mercedes' unmistakable craftsmanship and prestige. But on the other side, there's a growing wave of resistance. Longtime AMG and G-Wagon owners, many of whom have defined their status by the roar of a handcrafted V8 or the raw, rugged sound of a G-Class engine, are now questioning what this all means. Some say a silent AMG is no AMG at all, that an electric G-Wagon might be powerful but will never carry the same soul. Dealers, too, are feeling the tension. They've built entire business models around high-margin service on combustion engines, oil changes, performance tuning, and repairs that simply don't exist in the same way for EVs. For them, this shift threatens not only the cars on their lots, but their very bottom line. And then there are the investors. Wall Street's reaction was a mix of excitement and fear. On one hand, the announcement showed bold leadership and aggressive timeline that positions Mercedes as the frontrunner in the luxury EV race. On the other, it signals massive spending, restructuring, and short-term risks that could eat into profits. Analysts are already debating, will this gamble pay off with early dominance? Or will it overstretch the company in a brutally competitive EV market where Chinese automakers and Tesla are already years ahead in cost efficiency? What's undeniable is that the entire luxury market is now shaken. BMW can't ignore it. Audi can't wait another 5 years. Lexus, with its more cautious hybrid-first approach, suddenly looks behind the curve. And Tesla? For the first time, it faces a true luxury heavyweight charging directly at its throne, bringing not just tech but a century of brand prestige that money alone can't buy. And the deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes this isn't just about Mercedes-Benz. This is about how luxury itself is being redefined in real time. Because if status is no longer tied to the growl of an engine, but to the whisper of an EV, then everything we thought we knew about luxury cars is about to change. And that's exactly where this story widens, because Mercedes isn't making this move in a vacuum. Around the world, governments are tightening the noose on combustion engines. Europe has already set hard deadlines for phasing out gas and diesel sales. China, the largest auto market on the planet, is pushing aggressive EV quotas to dominate the future of mobility. Even in the US, despite pushback, federal incentives and state-level mandates are funneling billions into EV adoption. Mercedes' acceleration doesn't just align with these mandates, it leverages them, transforming regulation into a competitive advantage. But here's the brilliance of it. Mercedes isn't selling this pivot as compliance. They're rebranding it as leadership. While rivals scramble to justify half measures, Mercedes is saying, we're not being forced into this, we're choosing it. We're defining what luxury means in a carbon-free era. That message resonates not just with regulators, but with a new generation of wealthy buyers who see climate consciousness as part of their identity. For them, driving a gas-guzzling luxury car is starting to feel outdated, even embarrassing. Mercedes is betting that status in the 2030s will be about owning the cleanest, most advanced, most sustainable luxury product, not the loudest dot. And let's not ignore the financial pressure shaping this gamble. Investors across the globe are demanding proof that automakers can survive the next decade. Wall Street rewards bold EV plans, punishes hesitation, and scrutinizes every dollar spent on outdated engine programs. By pulling forward its EV timeline, Mercedes is signaling to the financial world that it won't be left behind like lagging legacy players. This isn't just about winning over buyers, it's about keeping shareholders convinced that the company deserves its place at the top of the global luxury pyramid. Behind the scenes, this ties directly into Mercedes' survival strategy for the next decade. They're not just electrifying cars, they're restructuring supply chains, securing battery deals, and rewriting their software ecosystem to match the likes of Tesla and Apple. Because make no mistake, the car of the future isn't just transportation, it's a rolling piece of software, a data platform, and extension of your digital life. Mercedes knows that if it doesn't own that space, someone else will. And so, when the CEO declared that the e-future is arriving faster than expected, it wasn't just a warning to drivers, it was a challenge to the entire global auto industry. Adapt now or get left behind. Because if every automaker follows Mercedes' lead, the ripple effects extend far beyond car showrooms. They reach into culture, society, and even the very identity of what it means to drive. Imagine a world where the thunder of V12s on city streets is replaced by fleets of whisper-quiet electric machines. The luxury neighborhoods of Beverly Hills, Monaco, and Dubai no longer echo with exhaust notes, but hum with silent torque and illuminated grills glowing with futuristic light signatures. Status, once measured by the sound of your car pulling up to a red carpet, becomes defined by how seamlessly your EV connects to your lifestyle as it charges itself wirelessly in your driveway. Does it update overnight with new performance modes? Does it integrate into your smart home and manage your energy bills? And that's the bigger shift. Luxury stops being about power you can hear and becomes about intelligence you can't see. The true flex in the 2030s may not be a hand-stitched leather interior or a roaring exhaust, but a car that can chauffeur itself across countries while streaming your favorite content in theater-like quality. It's not horsepower bragging rights anymore, it's tech dominance, AI sophistication, and sustainability credentials. Owning a luxury E becomes a statement that says, not only do I have wealth, but I have foresight. For automakers, this new definition of status rewrites the playbook. BMW's ultimate driving machine motto suddenly feels dated if there's no gas engine to stir the soul. Lexus, long built on refinement and quiet efficiency, may find itself well-positioned, but will it be bold enough? Tesla, once the disruptor, could find its halo dimming if legacy players like Mercedes perfect EV luxury at scale. And ultra-exotics Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley face an existential question. Can they preserve their mystique in silence, or will the future strip them of their very essence? And then there's the broader social impact. If every luxury automaker pivots hard into EVs, it forces infrastructure to follow suit: faster charging networks, cleaner grids, even city planning built around silent, emission-free vehicles. Oil-rich economies, long fueled by demand for premium gas guzzlers, face an identity crisis of their own. Dealers are pushed to reinvent themselves, focusing less on service bays and more on digital ecosystems. And younger buyers, raised in a world where luxury is tied to sustainability, will look back at gas-powered Bentleys and AMG V8s the way we now look at horse-drawn carriages, beautiful relics of another era. But here's the most fascinating part. America, Germany, Japan, China, all of them are racing to define what luxury mobility looks like in this new era. And Mercedes' acceleration may be the first domino that topples the rest, forcing everyone to pick up the pace. The question is, who adapts, who thrives, and who disappears when luxury itself no longer roars, it whispers? Because once you pull back the lens, you realize this isn't just a car story, it's a geopolitical one. Mercedes' accelerated EV timeline doesn't just pressure BMW or Audi, it pressures entire nations. Germany, for instance, has staked its economic identity on being the global hub of automotive excellence. If Mercedes successfully redefines luxury through electrification, it secures Germany's place in the EV arms race. But if it stumbles, China with giants like BYD and NIO could seize that luxury crown, shifting not just market share, but global influence. Think about the stakes here. Luxury cars aren't just products, they're symbols of national pride, export power, and cultural dominance. When an S-Class rolls through Shanghai, it's not just a car, it's Germany showing off its engineering supremacy. Now imagine if, within a decade, the world's most desired luxury EVs came stamped with Chinese badges. That's not just a market shift, that's a seismic transfer of prestige from west to east. And the ripple effects would be massive. Oil-rich countries, whose wealth has long been tied to fueling luxury fleets across the globe, suddenly face declining demand. What happens to economies like Saudi Arabia or Russia? The rich of the world no longer want V1 to limousines that guzzle premium fuel, but silent, battery-powered limos that sip nothing at all. Their political leverage shrinks, while nations with control over lithium, cobalt, and rare earth supplies rise in power. We could be watching the dawn of a new resource war, not over oil, but over battery materials. Meanwhile, governments in Europe and the US are watching closely. Because if Mercedes proves that fast-tracking EV luxury is profitable, it justifies stricter mandates and accelerates regulation. Politicians can point to the market leader and say, if Mercedes can do it, why can't everyone? And that snowballs into trade battles, tariffs, and alliances around EV technology. We're not just talking about car companies competing anymore, we're talking about nations racing to secure their slice of the luxury EV economy. And here's where it gets really interesting. In this new world, The balance of power isn't determined by who controls the oil fields, but who controls the gigafactories, the charging networks, the AI systems, and the software ecosystems that define the modern luxury experience. Mercedes knows this. Their announcement wasn't just about cars, it was about staking Germany's claim in the next great industrial revolution. So when the CEO said the e-future is coming faster than anyone thought, it wasn't just a business update. It was a warning shot, a declaration that the global luxury battlefield is shifting under our feet. And the question isn't just whether BMW, Audi, or Tesla can keep up, it's whether nations themselves are ready for the new era of automotive dominance. Picture the roadways of 2050. The days of gas stations on every corner are long gone, replaced by sleek charging plazas that look more like luxury lounges than utility stops. The roar of engines has become a nostalgic memory, something preserved only in museums or private collections where enthusiasts gather to hear the mechanical symphony of a bygone era. On the streets, every car whispers instant torque, effortless acceleration, and a digital brain that makes the vehicle feel less like a machine and more like an extension of its driver's identity. And in this future, the luxury hierarchy has been completely rewritten. Mercedes' early bet on accelerated electrification set off a chain reaction that forced every competitor to follow suit or vanish. The very definition of prestige is no longer tied to the badge on the hood alone, but to the sophistication of your car's AI, the exclusivity of its software ecosystem, and even the sustainability of its supply chain. Driving an EV that was built from ethically sourced materials, powered by renewable energy, and capable of seamlessly syncing with your digital world has become the ultimate statement of wealth and influence. For nations too, the game has changed. Countries that once held power through oil dominance are now shadows of their former selves, while those that secured battery resources, built green energy grids, and mastered autonomous technology command new geopolitical leverage. The car, once a symbol of individual freedom, is now also a symbol of national strength. Mercedes gambled to lead this transformation, position Germany at the center of the new mobility economy, but the race never stopped. China doubled down, the US fought to catch up, and entire alliances formed around battery production and charging infrastructure. The EV arms race became as strategic and consequential as the space race of the 20th century. And for the consumer, something even deeper has shifted. Cars are no longer just transportation, they're identity platforms. In the same way a luxury watch once told the world who you were, your electric Mercedes, your autonomous Bentley, or your ultra-high-tech Tesla now projects your values, your wealth, and your worldview. Owning a cutting-edge EV isn't just about getting from A to B, it's about aligning yourself with the future. About saying I am part of what comes next. But here's the paradox in chasing silence. Efficiency and intelligence, have we lost something? Has the soul of driving, the visceral thrill of controlling raw power, been replaced by something colder, more calculated, more curated? If every car becomes an autonomous, connected, electrified masterpiece, do we still feel the freedom that cars once promised, or do we trade that for convenience, comfort, and control? And that's the ultimate question raised by Mercedes' bombshell. By accelerating the EV future, they may not just reshape the luxury market or the global auto industry. They may reshape culture itself, what we value, how we define status, and even how we understand the relationship between humans and machines, because that's where the gravity of this announcement really settles in. This wasn't just Mercedes-Benz reshuffling its product roadmap. It was the first domino tipping in a chain reaction that could reshape not only the auto industry, but society itself. When the CEO stood up and declared that the EV future is coming faster than anyone thought, it was more than a business update, it was a cultural signal, a warning, and perhaps even a prophecy. Luxury has always had the power to define what comes next for everyone else. What the wealthy embrace today, the mainstream adopts tomorrow. And if the ultra-rich are convinced that the future of status lies in silent, sustainable, hyper-intelligent EVs, then it's. Think about the ripple effect this creates. Young drivers who once plastered posters of roaring AMG, coupes, or V12 Ferraris on their bedroom walls will instead dream of electric hypercars that hit 60 miles per hour in under 2 seconds without a single drop of gasoline. Families who once aspired to own a used S-Class or BMW 7 Series will find themselves saving for the trickle-down versions of luxury EVs. models built on the same cutting-edge tech platforms that started at the top. Even the cultural language around cars shifts. Terms like horsepower, torque curves, and exhaust notes give way to kilowatt-hours, AI modes, and charging speeds. And as those dominoes fall, freedom itself takes on a new shape. The open road, once synonymous with gasoline and grit, becomes a theater of connected mobility where cars talk to each other. Traffic jams dissolve into algorithmic choreography, and the driver's seat transforms into a living room, an office, or even a sanctuary. For some, this feels like evolution, a safer, smarter, cleaner way to travel. For others, it feels like a loss, the death of spontaneity, the fading of the raw connection between human and machine. But make no mistake, Mercedes' bombshell set this future in motion faster than anyone expected. And that's why the industry is buzzing with both fear and fascination. Because this isn't just about cars, it's about who gets to shape the next chapter of human mobility. Will it be the icons of the past, like Mercedes, leveraging their heritage to lead the way? Or will the crown shift to the disruptors Tesla, BYD, or a company we haven't even heard of yet, who build the future from scratch without the weight of history? One thing is certain, the road ahead is no longer paved with gasoline. It's charged with electricity, data, and imagination. And with Mercedes stepping on the accelerator, that future is coming at us far faster than anyone dared to believe. And here's where everything circles back to the present moment, because while we talk about 2050 visions and cultural revolutions, the fuse has already been lit today. Mercedes' announcement isn't some far-off theory. It's the spark that's already setting the luxury market ablaze. Rivals are scrambling behind the scenes, BMW's executives meeting late into the night, Audi fast-tracking its EV development programs, Lexus debating whether its cautious hybrid-first approach has already left it behind. Even Tesla, the longtime disruptor, suddenly finds itself in unfamiliar territory, no longer the lone innovator, but the one being challenged on its own turf by a century-old titan of prestige. And the effect doesn't stop at boardrooms. Dealers are feeling the heat as they prepare for a wave of EVs that will demand new sales tactics, new service models, and new infrastructure. Investors are reevaluating portfolios, betting on companies that can move fastest in this new reality. Policymakers are emboldened, pointing to Mercedes' acceleration as proof that tougher regulations are possible and inevitable. And buyers, the people at the heart of it all, are caught between excitement and uncertainty, wondering if their next luxury car will be their last with a combustion engine. This is how arms races begin, not with gradual change, but with a single bold move that forces everyone else to keep pace or be left behind. Mercedes-Benz has just declared that luxury isn't waiting until 2035 or beyond, it's arriving now. And if you're not ready, you're already late. The stakes aren't just market share, they're cultural dominance, technological leadership, and even national pride. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about Mercedes protecting its brand. This is about who gets to define the story of the future. Will luxury be remembered as the last stronghold of roaring engines, or will it be celebrated as the vanguard that made sustainability and sophistication inseparable? That question is being answered right now in real time, with every car that rolls off the assembly line, every battery factory that opens, and every consumer who decides what matters most: nostalgia for the past or belief in the future. And as the dust settles, one truth is clear: Mercedes-Benz didn't just shock the luxury market with this announcement. They may have just rewritten the entire script for the auto industry, setting off a domino effect that will shape cars, culture, and power for generations. Because what we're witnessing right now isn't the end of a story, it's the beginning of a global showdown. Mercedes has thrown down the gauntlet, and the rest of the luxury world has no choice but to respond. BMW can't afford to look slow. Audi can't afford to play cautious. Lexus can't hide behind hybrids forever. Even the ultra-exotics Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley are staring at a ticking clock, forced to figure out how to preserve their mystique in a world where silence replaces sound and software replaces raw, mechanical power. And that's why this feels less like a single announcement and more like the opening shot of a luxury arms race. Every brand will now measure itself not only by design or performance, but by how quickly it can pivot, how seamlessly it can electrify, and how convincingly it can redefine prestige for a generation that views sustainability not as a bonus, but as a baseline. This is no longer about if the industry changes, it's about who changes fastest and who still has a seat at the table when the dust clears.